Hey everybody, back at it out here in the garage. I hope you guys enjoyed that last video. If not, I'll put a little link up there of the last video I put out. It's just me and my wife going for a ride in the old car. Pretty simple, but man, we had a great time cruising the bad Hombre. Getting it out, shaking it down on the highway a little bit. It was really cool. So today, before I dive into what I'm getting ready to do to work on the car, I'm just checking out my engine and my valve covers. And I'll tell you what, I used some of this super clean degreaser on the valve covers in the engine, top of the engine on the car. And man, this stuff really continues to impress me. It kicked butt. In fact, it cleaned these valve covers up better than when I first got them and put them through my wife's dishwasher. It did a really good job. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of work on the car, but before we get into that, if you guys want to build this community and you want to see some more cool stuff with hot rods and old stuff and a dude working in his garage, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Okay, update on where we are with the list on the car. Let's walk down through here. I'll talk about a couple things I did recently on this whole thing. First off, I was going to work on my shifter boot, and I've got that in. It's in and done. We'll see that in a different video. I've got my brake pedal boot started, or the metal plate. The other thing I did was I knocked out a little bit of black paint inside the car. So you can see I got that part all done, so you don't have to see that nasty brown in there anymore. I've still got a ways to go, but we're getting a little bit done there. And what else can we do here? Let's see. Yep. Ooh, let's come back and do that today. Paint interior. Yeah, let's do... Okay, so what are we going to do today? We're going to take care of that rear end lube job. And really what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my axles out, drain the nasty stuff that's in it, that who knows how long it's been in there. And then we're going to inspect the third member. And we're going to then the bearings on the axle, and then we'll slam it back together and we will fill it up with some good new fresh oil, because it is cruising season. And I don't want that to be a limiting factor on my enjoyment or success. Okay, so got the car up on jack stands, tires off obviously. And I went ahead and when I hung it on my jack stands, I put them in front of the suspension so that my rear end could droop down as low as I could get it. That's going to make sense in a little while as to why I did that. Now we got to rip the drums off and get in here and pull the axle loose and try to slide that thing out. Who knows how bad it's stuck in there. And of course, before you go to pull your drums off, make sure your parking brake's released. You want to be that guy? And if you do this right, you don't have to take your brakes apart to get into it. You should be able to just get in here, and there's 4 bolts. You can access the nut right through the hole in the axle flange and zip those 4 off of there, which I'm going to do with my impact wrench, and then hopefully pop this axle right out. We'll see how it goes. If you're having trouble getting an axle out, there's an old technique you can use called the old puller technique, where you set your brake drum on backwards, put a couple of lug nuts on there, just not too tight, but you get them started on there, and then you can use this kind of like a slide hammer. Boom. Ow. But now I've got to go over to the other side, repeat this procedure, rip that axle out, and then we can get underneath the car and pull the pumpkin out. Okay, here we are under the car. I drooped the rear axle here as much as I could so that hopefully I can get up here and access these bolts with the impact driver. We'll see. If not, I have a full array of 9/16 tools to get these nuts loose. And I'm just going to pull all these off. I don't know how many there are, I forget, like 13 or something. And if you're ever wondering how to tell the difference between an 8-inch and a 9-inch, you can tell a 9-inch because you can't get these 2 bottom bolts sorry, these two bottom bolts off with a socket. You have to use a wrench on these two. An 8-inch, you can get a socket in there and grab them. Yeah, okay, so that looks good. Oh, and I forgot, I should have got a 1/2 inch so that I could pull my driveline loose, because that's gonna have to come loose too. But I'm gonna rip a bunch of these out, throw my bucket under here to catch any oil, pull that off. And I've got a drip here too. I'm suspicious because I think it comes from my drain tube, which means I probably need to put a hose on that or something. Okay, so if you guys are ever wondering how I figured out what this rear axle is without tearing into it, it's because I had the tag on here. And these numbers, and I'm sorry, these letters right here, WDCCK4, if you just Google those, Ford 9-inch and those numbers, you'll bring up a website with all, like every make and model that a Ford 9-inch came in. It tells you exactly what it came in and the gear ratio and what it has on the inside. I knew the gear ratio though, because if you can see these numbers, I don't know if you can make them out, but it's 3.25. So I knew it's 325 gears, and it makes sense when I drive it around. That seems about like what they are. But that's pretty handy. When you look up that, pull up that website, I'll put a link down in the description of it, so in case you guys are wondering about your Ford 9-inch. But it tells you everything. We know that this one was out of like a late 60s Ford car, 28 spline, open differential, 325 gear. There you go, now you know. Okay, the whole reason I tore into this rear axle is so that I could drain the oil. And if you're like me, when you get to this point, you got all the bolts out, but that diff is just hung up in there. I'm gonna show you my trick for getting the oil to drain out. But you wanna make sure your pan's in place before you do it. Here we go. Make it a little easier. There we go. Just like so, and voila. No, not yet. Come on now. Okay, well now it's picking the car up with it. This will help. I'm going to sit here, wrestle, tap on it, bang on it, but I want to get that seal to crack loose there on the bottom, and then all my oil will drain out. If you ever have this problem and you're under the car and you can't get it to break loose, first thing you want to do is make sure you got all the nuts off. That snuck up on me one time before. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, we've got separation action. I just had to get my BH out and bang on it a little bit. Really, I just put a chisel down here under this tab. Just gave it a few taps and she started to come apart there. You can see how gunky that oil is. That's pretty nasty. It looks pretty sparkly too coming out of there, so hopefully everything isn't trashed on the inside. But all right, I'm gonna let this drain out. I'm gonna rip this out, pull it out of the car, and I'll go put it up on my workbench and we'll take a look at it. All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty much a pain in the butt getting that out of there and dragging it out, but I'm super glad that I did. If you look at this thing, you can just see sludge. Like, I don't have a better word for it. It's just sludgy. The oil is so old in here. I mean, it's just old. But I checked everything over. The backlash feels good. The bearings all feel tight. I just need to clean this off. And I need to clean my garage up a little bit. And the hole that it came out of, that's going to require a whole bunch of scrubbing and spraying junk in there to get it cleaned out. Because I want it to look good so that I can put some more clean oil in there and then drive the heck out of the thing. Alright, I got a bunch of cleaning to do, plus I'm on grill duty tonight, so I'm going to do a little grilling. But we'll come back tomorrow and clean this thing, finish cleaning this thing up and plug this thing in. Alright guys, it's tomorrow. Work today and then back at it here a little bit, trying to finish up this rear end job. So I mucked out the inside the best I could. I used like a roll of paper towels and a can of brake clean, just wiping and mucking, and it was nasty. It's still kind of nasty, but it's much better. And the important thing is I cleaned up my face all the way around here. Scraped it, cleaned it, wire brushed it, wire wheeled it, so that I can get a good seal on there. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with my Ultra Black, my best silicone I can have, and I'm going to make myself a nice thick bead all the way around there. And then I'm going to scoot the third member in here on the jack, and then I'm going to try to be tough man and press that sucker up there. Get it started on the studs, mash it down, and then zip down all the bolts, and then it's pretty easy from there. But anyway, got a little bit of time before dinner, so I'm going to try to get this at least get the third member stabbed in before then. Wish me luck. Okay, it is gooped up maximum. It is a mess, and I'm sorry if you don't like it. I don't like it either. How's that sound? Maybe one day we can sit down and talk about how this made us feel. But it's gonna seal. So now, if you want to see a real circus, just keep watching as I try to wrestle this third member up under the car. I'm not as tough as I used to be. I used to, when I was in college, I had my Nova, had a 9-inch under it, and I would put street gears in it and drive it all week or maybe for a couple weeks. But then when it came time to race, I'd go down on Friday afternoon, swap out the third member, throw in my racing gears, and I'd go race. And I remember doing that in just no time at all. Pop the axles out, drop it out, swap it out. Like it was nothing. I must have been a lot tougher then too, I think. So anyway, all right, it's dinner time. I'm late. I really want to get this in and sealed before I have to go in. So here we go. This should be good. Alright guys, it's tomorrow again. I just got off work and I want to finish this car up. Here's where we stand. Axles are in. I got those buttoned down right before I quit last night. And the dirty work theoretically is done. I still have a giant mess of tools and stuff to clean up. But I've got to get in here and put my oil in, and here's what I'm going to use. I'm going to go with 80W90 because I have like 1.5 gallons of it. So that's what's going to get used. I'm going to put that stuff in, and we got to button up the wheels and tires and brakes, and then put the driveline back in. And the goal here is to get that done, spin the car around, because we're supposed to get a little snow this weekend, and I don't want it to be stuck like this. I want to spin it around so I can get done with the next project. So you guys might be wondering why I chose this particular brand and viscosity of oil to run in my car. And I'll tell you why. It's because I was on Craigslist one day and the guy had an ad with a picture of a whole bunch of like gear oil and antifreeze, and he was moving, and he said, "This is on the curb, come get it, it's free." So I decided right then that's the oil I was going to use. I went and picked it up. Now you don't want to just put crap in there because you see what a pain it is to change it. But I can tell you, like on my Nova, the 9-inch on it, we put a plug right down here in the bottom, so I can literally change the oil in my rear diff. You know, drain the oil out, fill new oil in, anytime I wonder about how bad it is. But it's one of those things you don't have to worry about for a long time. Although this one I'll be tempted to do it again just based on how much sludge was in there. Anyway, this is easier if you have a pump, especially if you got like a muscle car or something where you're up under a tunnel trying to do this. Thankfully I got a lot of room on this car. Okay, looks like I filled it up just enough, just to where it starts to want to come out the hole. So we can plug that. Call that good. Now I gotta look at getting my drive line stabbed in there, hooking it up, and then it'll be back to putting wheels and tires on. So that's pretty easy. Sure is nice having a little room under a car to work. Okay, got my drive line just about tightened up and back in. It's super helpful if you remember to put your car in neutral before you climb under it. And then the only little tip I've picked up on this is not to crank these down too tight. Snug but not too tight, because those little needle bearings get their feelings hurt and will go bad if you crank them down too tight. So we will call this drive line installed. Now I'll go throw some tires on. Alright guys, we got her. Rear diff, fresh oil. All it took was 2.5 quarts of free gear oil, about a half a roll of paper towels, 1 tube of silicone, about 3 afternoons. Oh well, we got her done. I'm gonna fire this thing up, spin it around, get it ready for the next project. Hey, if you liked it, hit the subscribe button, and then make sure you click one of the links that's going to pop up on your screen here in a second. Watch a couple more of the videos, see how this car was built. See you next time.